Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades and friends, the villain in the Oval Office has struck again. The Trump administration has just announced that U.S. states and cities that boycott Israeli companies will be excluded from receiving federal disaster preparedness funding. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, stated in grant notices issued on Friday that applicants must certify they will not terminate commercial relations, specifically with Israeli companies, end quote. These conditions apply to approximately $1.9 billion in funding used for search and rescue equipment, emergency management staff salaries, backup power systems, and related expenses. This move marks the latest effort by the administration to leverage federal funding to reinforce its stance against the boycott, divestment, and sanctions, or BDS movement, which seeks to pressure Israel to end its occupation of Palestinian territories. The Department of Homeland Security, under which FEMA operates, reiterated in April that municipalities receiving its grants are prohibited from supporting boycotts of Israel. DHS officials describe the policy as enforcement of anti-discrimination laws, asserting that the BDS movement is expressly grounded in anti-Semitism. Holy shit, ladies and gentlemen. How fucked up is that? I mean, there's no other way to say it here. Fuck you. How about that? Right? Anti-Semitic? Are you kidding me? Right? There's a genocide going on. Children are starving. Right? They're lying about ceasefires. Right? They're just gunning down people in food aid lines. And you're going to tell me, by the way, they're also bombing multiple foreign countries, right? And you're going to tell me that boycotting them is somehow immoral? That they should be supported? That's insane. I mean, every single human rights organization is against Israel. Netanyahu and his supporters should be indicted on war crimes, but unfortunately they can't because they're underneath the protection of the United States government. And it's insane to say that if you want to stand against that, you're somehow anti-Semitic. It has nothing to do with anti-Semitism, right? It has everything to do with the genocidal regime. That's what it has to do with. Palestine is in rubble. Gaza is in rubble, and we have to sit back and just take it according to the U.S. government, right? We can't even boycott, right? We can't use our freedom of speech, right? The government has to have a say in everything. Right? What happened to freedom of speech? The First Amendment. Did we forget about that? Is this something that we just forgot about? We don't like it anymore when it doesn't, suit our own interest. Right? That's what the people in the government would say, right? So when you see these conspiracies, right, and you see people preaching out against the government, it's for good reason, right? Because they are corrupt, they are evil, right? And they're trying to silence people. They're trying to silence their opposition. And this is 1984. If you don't get along with what the party has to say, right, they're going to silence you, right? And you better believe what they have to say, right? Or there'll be repercussions, right? You will die metaphorically, if not literally. How insane is that, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, Jesus Christ, look at what, they're doing. Look at what they're doing in every avenue of our life now. Every avenue. Think about it. I mean, in this country, we can't get universal health care, right? They're aligned with insurance companies. In this country, we can't have things like universal child care, right? Our infrastructure is always crumbling, right? But if you say, I think we should build a high-speed railway, they look at you like you're nuts. But we should be standing up against this, ladies and gentlemen, regardless. So, with that said, I'm curious to see what you guys have to say here. I mean, I think that's some supervillain level shit right there. I mean, natural disaster preparedness, and you're gonna remove funding from that because of companies that boycott Israel? That's crazy, right? Yeah, America first, right? Oh, well, we're the America First Party, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we care about our people. What? What are you talking about? I mean, first of all, we're lucky we didn't get dragged into a war from this administration. I mean, when Trump bombs Iranian nuclear facilities, just like he bombed that Iranian general and was brought us into war the first time, the fact that we're not in a war now, I'll give him props for props to do. That's actually a miracle. I mean, this is unbelievable and unprecedented behaviors on behalf of this administration. So to act like this is America first when you almost even dragged us into a literal war is disgusting. And I would even argue that we are fighting a war. It's a proxy war. I mean, when you send billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars overseas to fight, foreign adversaries, which have no bearing on us right here. Obviously, there's some bearing, but no immediate pressures that we would really be facing should we cease funding them. That's a problem. And when we ask for billions of dollars here to do things that are essentially free when you look at the budget, right? I mean, ending homelessness is free. I mean, ending Hunger in the country is free. I mean, it would cost you, what, $45 billion to do so? Or if you actually look at the math on that, it's like, okay, that's free, right? That's nothing for your budget. But if you say that, then you're like a communist. But meanwhile, we can go, send hundreds of billions of dollars overseas, right, to fight wars, right? And then, which maybe even get U.S. troops involved. In fact, it almost did too when they bombed a U.S. military base, which fortunately nobody was killed, but fortunate for us, but craziness. So I'm curious to see what you guys have to say, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunate situations all around, right? And we should be speaking up against this. Use your freedom of speech, right? You guys have freedom of speech for a reason. You got to stand up and use it. When you see something bad, you got to speak up about it. But always do your own research, make up your own mind. Always come to your own conclusions. Have a good day, ladies and gentlemen.